Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma and Brian E. Roach.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Joe Kuzma, and joining me to my side here, a regular on the Steel City Underground podcast, day one, Mr. Brian E. Roach. Brian, what's going on, my friend?
I'm just enjoying the gift of crappy reffing that we saw last night, and just remembering that it doesn't matter what team is on the field. The refs stink. They just are terrible.
Oh, man, you're going to make me pull this up off of the impending cheat sheet from SteelCityUnderground.com that I just wrote up. I don't even know the referee that the Steelers have this Sunday. Back-to-back home games, hosting on a short week, Monday Night Football, translating into a Sunday game against the Detroit Lions, who had a bye week and should be fresh and ready to go for their bus trip to Pittsburgh. And I'm going to look up this guy's name. I'm going to actually look him up maybe a little bit more while we discuss, because I've never heard of this lad before. Land Clark.
He is just the next in a long line of stinking crap butt refs who are terrible, and they all stink.
Oh, I know him. I know him to see him, though. I'm going to shoot you this. I know him to see him. You'll know him. He's just another guy. You're going to be like, oh, yeah, that guy. He looks like a tool, just like the rest of them, right? So he's just been on a roll on referees. Looks like he began as an actual referee. Well, he's had 4 years in the NFL, according to Pro Football Reference. So only 2 years as a referee. This would be his second. So he was a field judge and side judge. I wonder who he had blackmail on to shoot up the ranks so quickly.
No, I think what happens is the way this works in the refereeing world is the more you stink, the faster you accelerate your career, because the stinkiest referees are always the ones leading the whole threat. So it's like, yeah, it's clearly a career where the worse you are at your job, the more you get ahead.
Well, I was looking. He did not have the Steelers last year as a referee. So as a side judge, he's had the Steelers 3 times and all divisional games, once against Cleveland Browns on my birthday back in 2018, and then 2 games against the Cincinnati Bengals, one that closed out the year on December, or maybe didn't close out the year, but closed out his year December 30th of that year, and then in November 2019 with Mason Rudolph as the starter, if you remember that one. So that's it on the officials. We're going into this one dark. Maybe this guy's a clean slate. Maybe he just doesn't know enough yet to throw taunting flags and things of that nature. But yeah, the officiating, well, let's reference that. Miami Dolphins surprised us all. I had a little bit of a gut feeling on this, by the way, Brian, and I'm not wearing shades today because of just Miami and the sun, and the future's so bright I got to wear shades. It's because I saw Kay Adams wearing it on Good Morning Football, and I said, you know what? I'm going to do that just to do it. And they are Steelers glasses.
You saw a woman wearing glasses on your head, and you said, I want to look like that woman.
An attractive woman.
All right, so what you're telling me is you want to look like an attractive woman.
No, I just want to look attractive. That's hey, let's see if we can polish the turd here. So, anyways, yeah, Baltimore Ravens, short week, go down to Miami, and I said, you know what? That's enough to do it right there, especially when you're talking about like mid-November and seasons change and time changes. That's enough to jet lag someone. And I said, but do the Dolphins have what it takes? Tua Tagovailoa sitting on the sidelines, whatever was going on with his hand, he wasn't going to start or play. And Jacoby Brissett starts, does okay, as did Tua, did okay. I was forced into playing Myles Gaskin on my fantasy team. I had Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews on my fantasy team, so I had some mild interest in what I thought would be a very boring game. And here we're going through like the third quarter, and it's been such a defensive stand. Even at halftime, a defensive stand by the Miami Dolphins. They're just smacking Lamar Jackson and everyone around. And Lamar Jackson makes some moves, and he's evasive, his usual self, and he throws the ball, and Sammy Watkins can't grab it, and Hollywood Brown can't. They just have the dropsies. It's just a comedy of errors on their part, and then their defense. I wouldn't say their defense necessarily got exposed, but got exposed enough for some big chunk plays. And that's been happening over the last few weeks. So it's starting to, like we said, this isn't sustainable. You'd be surprised with parity in the NFL any given Sunday, any given Thursday in this circumstance. But this opens up the door for the Steelers, who everyone had written off at 1-3 in September, end of September. This team's done. Stick a fork in them. Here's the final nail in the coffin. They're in the basement. It's over with. And I had to say, I stayed true to myself, Brian. I said, there is a chance. You're saying there's a chance. The line from Dumb and Dumber. And here it is. Steelers could take first place against what should be a slam dunk in the winless Detroit Lions. The trap game, that term's coming up again. It's only a trap if you got
something. Trap.
It's a trap. Yes, Admiral Akbar. Who
trap?
Take it to heart, folks. It could be a trap. I don't think they're overlooking the Lions.
No such thing as a trap game. How can this team can't overlook anyone?
No, they
cannot overlook anyone. But they have not blown anybody out. They have not dominated the team. They cannot look at any team on their schedule and go, oh, thank you, that's a gift.
I'll tell you what, though, they put 370 yards of offense on the Browns, 345 on the Seahawks, and 391 on the Broncos. So, I mean, they get some yardage there. Now, they didn't have the yardage on short fields last week, and it shouldn't have been that close if it wasn't for Ray fumbling. So, it's really tough this is one of those games just like last year. You look at, it was the Cowboys last year, and you're like, how is there any possibility that this ends up being that the Detroit Lions aren't any good defensively against the run? Of course, Najee Harris shows up on the injury report, and you finally get Ben Roethlisberger participating in full. They added the right shoulder to this thing, as we had said before. Chase Claypool, only guy ruled out. We kind of figured that may have been the case. He wasn't practicing. Eric Ebron finally full. Maybe it looks like he'll swing back. Isaiah Buggs full. Robert Spillane full. Cam, grown-ass man. Hayward full. Najee Harris full. Gotta hope that's fine. Kendrick Green also full. So you had some things that might be a little scary, but it seems like they'll be okay. We're still awaiting some updates on the Lions, although the only guys I think that really matter as far as participation would be if they had to have another kicker, which they'll grab somebody off the free agency list or wherever and throw him in there. It's not like Jamal Williams has been a factor at a running back there. So that's pretty much your injury report there, brought to you by whoever brings it to you, probably Bordas and Bordas or somebody like that. They got so many corporate sponsors for the Steelers. Let's see. That gets the injuries out of the way. Chase Claypool, that's kind of a big one. I think the Lions are also pretty much up there with giving away points allowed. They're 31st in the league. They've been giving up an average of 30.5 per game. They're only scoring 16.8, 29th in the league, where the Steelers are they're about 20 on both ends here, which is good for 23rd offensively, but 8th overall defensively. The Detroit Lions, let's see here, have given up a whole bunch. Like we said, they're 0-8. They're winless. They gave up 44 to the Philadelphia Eagles before the bye. They also gave up 28 to the Rams. I'm not going to call the Steelers the Rams, but they gave up 34 to the Bengals also. So it kind of gives you a little bit of a barometer, 24 maybe to the Bears. So I'm expecting something to happen, something to click here offensively for Pittsburgh. What I would like to see is that 100 rushing yard game from Najee Harris that we didn't get last week. Maybe this will be a Deontay Johnson breakout game, Brian, because maybe Ebron comes in there and alleviates a little bit of the Claypool stuff. It looks like Anthony Miller is about to get called up too from the practice squad and might get some participation here as well. And we'll see how that ends up working out. Formerly, how high of a pick was he? Second rounder, I believe, originally with the Bears, right? So a little bit of excitement there. Of course, it brings me to the least useful link here to validate my information here. Fourth year player. Yes, the Bears, and he spent a cup of coffee with the Texans last season. So we'll end up seeing it. It didn't end up working out for him with Chicago. But then again, when you're dealing with programs like that, sometimes that tends to be the case. We'll see if Big Ben could make him another kind of guy you pick up off the pile and ends up being a solid contributor. And I'm not going to call him like, all pro here, but hey, we'll see what ends up happening. We'll see if James Washington ends up recovering here and offensively for the Steelers. Let's see if Zach Banner gets a helmet, and we'll see if they make any shuffling with the offensive line, but nothing coming out of any of the practice reports that would indicate such as of right now.
No, yeah. Look, this is an offense that just seems to be up and down. They don't seem to fully figure out they still don't seem to fully have figured out what their identity is or how they want to go about things. They're still learning. The offensive line is still trying to gel. I know it's game 8, 9, something like that.
Yes, 9. Week 10, game 9.
Yeah, more than halfway through the season at this point, slightly, since we now have 17 games instead of 16, just slightly more. But I still think that they are on a trend that is a positive trend. They are finding things they can do well. And then trying to exploit them. They certainly are more consistent in moving the ball than they were early in the season. Yes, they'll throw some dud drives out there. They'll make some mistakes still, but they are consistently better at doing some things. So that's all growth, right? And it's all good stuff. We just have to wait and see what the game plan plays like. When you start to the thing that concerns me, and I don't buy into the trap game stuff and all that nonsense, but the thing that concerns me is that you do start to get some level of attrition, and if with Claypool all the way out, depending on who's trying to pick up that slack, not that it's been tremendous, but he started to have some good performance as of last game. I mean, he made some nice catches in that game. Maybe he was starting to come to life. So it's really unfortunate that he's, hobbled by a toe. But it is what it is. We just have to wait and see. I'm encouraged. I'll use a term I've been hearing a lot lately in my inner circles of my own inner circles, which is I'm cautiously optimistic.
Ooh, I like that. I do like that. You caught me trying to get a cold beverage there on the segue. So for those of you lucky enough, you're going to be able to maybe see this game on television, hopefully locally, maybe in Pittsburgh. But a lot of the coverage, it's not good. It's on Fox, and it's going to be primarily the fact that no one wants to see the Lions. So that's what's going to end up happening on the Fox window here. You have a little bit of coverage in your normal areas with Pennsylvania. It'll even trickle down into southern Ohio and West Virginia, and then, of course, Michigan. And then that's about it. The rest of the country is zoned out and gets the Cowgirls against the Falcons. It's kind of a really crappy early Fox slate for the singles, because it's like the Bucks in Tampa Bay and Washington football team. You got the Lions, you got the Falcons, then it's like the Vikings and Chargers late, or the Panthers and Cardinals late, and that's about it. It's not a good CBS has the doubleheader, so if you're looking for this on TV, you might want to go head into the bar. So we'll get you a little bit. I'm going to try and remember to bring that up as part of our pregame too, because too often am I watching people talk at like noon on social media and stuff, and they're like, hey, how can I watch the game? Where's the game at? It's like 1:30. It's like the people that are showing up in the seats next to me at the game too. So, hey, might catch you tailgating, brother. I'm gonna try and make some bacon and eggs this time. It's gonna be a little chilly. It's gonna be in the 40s supposedly.
40s, yes, yeah. And maybe a little rain.
Hopefully not. That's the one thing I don't like when I'm doing the traveling. I don't want to be wet. That's the worst. And you got to get,
I'm under the top. So
Yeah. I'm not. So that'll be interesting. Let's take a look at some of the odds before we get over to the Steelers defense versus the other way, because I mean, we didn't really talk about the Lions defense. Is there anything to really talk about? I don't think they could commit to the run. You take a look at the Eagles and their team, and they it was like no mercy. Boston Scott, Kenneth Gainwell, Jordan Howard, these guys just ran all over them, and I had it up. Let's see. Well, Hurts, 7 for 71, mobile quarterback. We're not going to really see that out of Ben. But Scott, 60 yards, Howard, 57. Gainwell had 27, which isn't all too great. And then they had a couple of plays by Jalen Reagor, who was a wide receiver. They combined for 236 yards on this team. And it's just wow. What are they going to do? And then we'll get to the Lions offense against them. I'm just kind of using the last game just kind of as like as a barometer here, because the Eagles aren't necessarily known as somebody who's going to blow the doors off of anybody this season, offensively or defensively. So if you're going to just kind of use a measuring stick here, I don't see a whole lot that the Lions are going to be able to – I just don't see what the Lions have defensively to offer to kind of even to slow down the Steelers. Steelers are going to have to shoot themselves in the foot, which has been the case. Holding penalties by the offensive line, been not on the right page with someone, something like that. So if they mitigate some of the penalties and limit any type of turnovers, I kind of have I feel good about the game. Yes, cautiously optimistic, because this is always one where you could slip and give the Lions the first win. They're well rested.
Coming off a bye.
They got Michael Brockers, they got Trey Flowers, but like no one else on this defense, like they don't intimidate me whatsoever, is what I'm looking at here. Alex Anzalone, I mean, no, he really doesn't. Charles Harris, maybe. The whole secondary, it's just there isn't a whole lot of dudes, so to speak, and it doesn't get any better when you flip over to their offensive depth chart. But let's have a look here from our sponsor, Draftkings Sportsbook. Okay,
I'm not going to yell this time. I know.
Yes,
I freaked people out. I promise I'm not going to yell.
You know what? I owe someone a shout out too. They were like, "If I'm a Browns fan, can I get a shout out?" And I'm like, "Well, no, not typically. That's just because it was a special circumstance where we were calling out a troll." But we'll give a shout out to all of our Steelers fans listening. The 99% of you that are Steelers fans listening, and the 2% of you that hang on to the end. So NFL fans, are you hungry for a big win this week? Well, we got you covered. Draftkings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, has you covered. New customers, you know what? You can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game. If they do, you will win $200 in free bets.
Free money. Free money.
Yes, now they have to turn up the volume, and then I'm going to blow their ears off or blow their speakers. But if you do, it's winner, chicken dinner. It's just that simple. The DraftKings Sportsbook customers can also get skin in the game with new same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets from the same game for a bigger payout. The more legs you add, the more money you can win. DraftKings, of course, is a safe, secure, and reliable sports book. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want, so they're not just going to hold on to it there. Of course, $5, that's the incentive. I believe that's being offered, so go take a look at that. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the promo code SteelCity when you do. And when you bet that $5 buckaroos on your whatever NFL team you pick to win their game, and you win the $200 in free bets. If they win, you win with the promo code SteelCity at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. So you, of course, the disclaimers here, you must be 21 or older, Pennsylvania only. Different offers in different areas. This is available for some other states, but just specifically here, this is in partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Let's take a look at the lines here for this game. Detroit Lions at Pittsburgh Steelers, 1 o'clock Sunday. Detroit Lions are getting 7.5, so the Steelers are favored by more than a touchdown, maybe for the first time all season long, I believe, Brian.
That's disturbing. That's just disturbing to me. It's disturbing.
And it's a 42.5 over and under, so it's still in that category of, can one of these teams reach over 20 points? It's the same thing we said last week. You liked the over last week. I might. That's tough, because are you thinking that the Lions can actually score somewhere in the range of like 15, 16 points. The Steelers going to get closer to 30. It might nudge you over. This one might be tighter than even what we thought last week. We thought last week, hey, that's a pretty good bet there. So I don't know. The 7.5, I might take the 7.5, or I might take the Steelers favored, giving 7.5 actually.
There is nothing right now to make me take the Steelers and give up points.
Okay.
Games have been too close. But right, I think they'll win. I think they'll win. They might win by more than 7. I just am not comfortable. You know, I'm cheap. I don't want to give away my money.
Stingy, frugal.
I'm stingy. I'm very frugal with my dollars because they are hard earned. And I don't want to give them away unnecessarily. And so I'm not encouraged to bet that line. But if I was going to bet and get my I would probably take I would consider taking the over again here, actually, to be honest with you.
Louder for those in the back.
Free money.
Hey, wait. I'm going to give you the flash, the Zach Celedonia win-win philosophy of betting on the Ravens.
That. I love it.
Betting on the Ravens, but even if the Ravens still
any
lose,
AFC North team,
or any AFC North team,
other than the Steelers.
But in reality, if they lose and you lose money, you still win because it's good for the Steelers within the division. That's a great, sound strategy if you could afford it.
Well, you know, he bet 27 cents, so it's okay.
Yeah, and then he had like 3 legs on it, and he was looking for the Myles Gaskin touchdown. It didn't happen. Boy, was that ticking me off. But regardless, the 7.5. Brian, what do you think? Steelers 20 points. Do you think they score 20 points in this game or more?
Yes, I do.
Do you think they score 24.5 or more?
Yes, I do.
Do you think they can get to 30 for the first time this season?
No.
Ooh, I think I'm right there. But if it's there, it's got to be like last. I think they can put more
27. That's my number.
Bears.
That's the number I'm at. 27.
I think the Bears, all the way around, are a way better football team than the Lions, but at least able to compete. Justin Fields, young quarterback, mobile quarterback. Jared Goff is not that. He's not a good quarterback. He's not really a mobile quarterback. He's younger. He might be able to move a little more, a little looser in the joints than Big Ben Roethlisberger, but it's just that a whole lot of ugly. Let's talk about the number 1 matchup you're probably going to see in this game. This is the one we got to talk about. Penei Sewell, 7th pick overall, tackle, top tackle taken in the draft, right tackle, going up against TJ Watt. I think that's the big one.
That's probably the biggest one. I mean, anybody going up against TJ Watt is the matchup to watch.
That's going to give them some nightmares. I mean, you're going to have to get like TJ Hawkinson or something in there a little more often than not. But I take a look up and down. They lost Frank Ragnow, their center, so they got a backup center in there now. That doesn't spell very good news for them. Evan Brown's filling in. Taylor Decker's the other tackle, and then you have
and he has a finger problem, doesn't he?
Yeah, there was something there. He'll play. I think he'll play.
I know. I'm sitting there going, did not participate because of a finger? Really? Are you an offensive lineman?
No,
Get the hell
you're
out
not
of
a football player. You're goodbye.
Finger.
Well, it's Detroit.
Goodbye.
It's Detroit. Taylor. What did I say? Taylor Decker, Jonah Jackson, and then Vital.
Some guy.
Yes, one of the Samoan or like Hawaiian Pacific Islander names here that I cannot pronounce. But this is going to be tough sledding for whatever Jared Goff. DeAndre Swift, who I really like as a running back, he's a 3-down type guy. He could do it all. He's very much, I think, like a Najee Harris type player. But he's in a really, really, really bad offense. And
let's just look at it this way, right? They put up 33 points on the San Francisco 49ers game 1. They haven't hit 20 points since.
No.
6 to 19. That's it. The range, and they've hit 17. What? 1, 2, 3 times. That's They've played some games that were close. They lost to the Ravens 17-19 in a game they should have won.
With the Justin Tucker,
Yeah,
longest
Justin
field goal
Tucker,
in NFL history, hitting the crossbar and hitting the crossbar, not unlike the might have hit the crossbar from 20 yards away.
No, it actually, hitting
Monday.
and bouncing over. All it had to do was bounce the other way, and the Ravens would have that as a loss on their record.
Yeah, Steelers would be in front right now.
They lost to the Vikings by that same score, 17-19, right? Look, the Eagles pounded the hell out of them. You're right. I think this is I don't know how healthy they got. Let me put it that way. Yes, they're rested. I don't know how healthy they got. Without the starting center, with some injuries on the offensive line, and just not a good team. I don't know. But, it's not from that same standpoint, right? It's not a cakewalk because there's no such thing in the NFL. And we're not, it's not like we're throwing up 34 points a game either. So, that's why I say I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but hopefully we aren't at the end of the game with our nails in our mouth,
It would have to be defeating yourself. A lot of people will say, "Oh, Mike Tomlin always plays down to opponents." That's not always true.
That's not even a thing.
Yeah, we've come up with that so many times. There's people who bring up teams that have like a 2-3 record or a 1-2 record as losing teams, and that's who he plays down to. They end up
does John Harbaugh play down to his opponents because he almost lost to the daggone Lions and he just lost to the Dolphins? Does he play down to his opponents? It happens. That's all.
That's it. Bill Belichick, the Patriots, I think their last Super Bowl win, and 5 of their losses, including one of them to the Steelers, none of the teams that they lost to made the playoffs. That's one of those things. The one year the Steelers lost to the Chiefs, everyone was complaining about it, and the Chiefs made the playoffs. They were like 1-7 at that point, and then ripped off a win for every game. By the way, I got a Lions injury update live in progress here. So their kicker is out. So they're going to have to find somebody else to kick the ball. Austin Seabird's out.
Somebody other than us has a hurt kicker? I love it. Not that ours is hurt anymore, but
And Jamal Williams is out. Not that it would I didn't think he was going to play anyways. But in the entirety of this whole thing, he was the better runner of the two between him and Swift. He was at least averaging 4.4 yards per carry versus Swift's 3.2. Swift and Hawkinson are the leading receivers on this team. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Khalif Raymond, Quintez Cephas, who was also banged up. And let's see, they got another name that we remember, Cordarrelle Hodge. So they have some guys on here throughout the season that have caught some passes, but it's primarily, Swift has 20 more catches than St. Brown as a running back, and so does Hawkinson. They're there at 48 and 47 catches. They each have a pair of touchdown catches as well. That's 4 catches of the 8 touchdown passes that Jared Goff has thrown to his 6 interceptions. He's been sacked 22 times this season and primarily sacked a heck of a lot over the last few games. His turnovers, he didn't throw a pick against the Eagles, but he had thrown a pick in the previous 3 games, one against the Vikings and Bengals, and then 2 against the Rams. He had been sacked 5 times against the Eagles, and I guess their defensive line was figuring it out and pretty much holding them down because Swift only ran for 27 yards in that game. They got another guy, Egwebuki, who ran 3 for 18, and then that's just it. There was just nothing else going on offensively. TJ Hawkinson, 10 catches on 11 targets for 89 yards. St. Brown was targeted 5 times, caught 3 passes. The guy out of the background, Egwebuki, 3 for 40, Swift 5 for 24. It's a lot of check down stuff. I think we'll see a lot more base type defense with the Steelers. We're going to see Schobert, Bush, and Spillane in a healthy rotation. I don't think you're going to see a whole lot of Mollett or Norwood or even Pierre sliding in and moving Sutton over. That's maybe the most you'll see is maybe that hybrid nickel package. You might see Norwood just a little bit depending on what they throw out there. They don't have the personnel. I don't see it. I know every time we say this, we eat our words. We come back on Monday or whatever with a post game, and we're going to be like, man, this was closer than we thought. Remember when we said so-and-so? I don't have the same feeling. I know you're more cautiously optimistic, but you're seeing it from the frame of the Steelers. I'm looking at the Steelers defense just like, did you see Chris Wormley, the Wizards at Pro Football Focus had him as like one of the best, if not the best defensive tackle grade against the run? Like, he's been lighting it up. We know Cam Hayward
playing very well.
Yeah, playing very well. This could be an Alex Highsmith game also. I'm waiting for his coming out party with the sack or two. He's coming along just fine. He puts enough pressure in there. He just doesn't show up on the stat sheet. Taco Charlton, Derek Tuska, not Tuzka. Thought it was like my name, but it's not. It's cool. I heard Wolf say Tuska, so I'm going with Tuska now. I think we see some of these guys a little more. I think this. Hopefully, this is a game where they can be a little more comfortable. Tomlin's going to be careful with the game management, knowing that they had a different week of practice here. I think so. You might see some goofy things here or there, but I don't think you're going to see a whole lot. Isaiah Buggs has been doing okay as well. I have a really good feeling that the Steelers' defense, provided they're not on the field and there's not some weird time of possession or field battle thing, they turn the ball over and give the Lions some short chip shots. You don't even know who the kicker is going to be at this point. They may have signed someone. I'd have to look. They probably did have someone already practicing. I'll have to take a look at the news wire here. But other than that, Brian, I mean, I feel more optimistic than usual. It's just really hard for me. I know that they gave a game to. They gave the Ravens a really tight game there. That game was also played in Detroit, out of the confines of any weather or anything else, which also helped the Justin Tucker kick as well. Jared Goff, to me, is just not a very good quarterback, and he's going to get harassed a heck of a lot more than he had. Maybe that's part of the reason why they haven't put anything up there, is because recently it's like the Rams and then the Eagles. They still got some dudes up front still too. So just very, very difficult for me to see anywhere that the Lions have much of a prayer here, other than the Steelers shooting themselves in their own foot, which you've acknowledged.
This is the piece. Yeah, this is the piece that it just continues to trouble them. Tight ends. So I actually can see Hockenson having a decent game, provided that Goff has the time to see him. They still have problems at times. And it's to be fair, look, what happens more often than not when tight ends get open against them is they're in a zone. They're not playing man-to-man against the tight end. The tight end finds a nice, comfortable spot in the zone, sits there and gets a catch, right? But they do have issues making sure tight ends don't cause them problems. But if Hockenson is the only thing they have to worry about, maybe they'll handle a little bit. I'll be interested to see how much zone they play versus, trying to man up. I have not paid enough attention this season to see how often they are in man-to-man or some, hybrid version of man coverage. But I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you. There's not a lot of weapons on that team. And to be frank, it's always the case. If they turn the ball over a whole bunch of times, the chances are they're going to lose. They continue to make a bunch of dumb mistakes, pre-snap penalties, and shooting yourself in the foot and doing really, really dumb things. Yes, they could lose because of those kinds of things. The refs decide that, because they breathed on Jared Goff, it's roughing. Who knows? They certainly could lose this game. I don't think they will.
They do have a kicker on the practice squad, Ryan Santoso, and he's appeared in 2 games this year. Only one field goal made, 35-yarder, and 4 extra points that have all gone through the uprights. So there's your update on that. It's just it's not your normal guy. Sometimes
Taylor Decker's listed as questionable with that finger.
Really, he's been full practice. I just saw the update. He's been full practice though. It's probably just because questionable is always you're on the report. Yeah,
I guess
I saw it on there. I know we're in the middle of all this. Apologies.
Yeah,
everyone.
it does say full practice. Full practice. You're right. Yeah, he'll play. And the only way you don't play with a finger is if it's falling off.
That's the way I feel too. So. I think we've looked at this at just about every angle, unless there's like it has to be something weird, like the Ray fumble. Like, again, that's free points that they were giving the Bears and gave them some new life. Otherwise, who knows? The Steelers chew off a little more on that clock maybe, or they at least have a possession where, and the the Bears are forced to do something and score. It's not a free that they're not just giving them the touchdown and then some. So
Yep.
That bothers me just from looking at it from the outside, because then everything else comes into play. Oh, well, the taunting call, the referees gave you everything. It's like, yeah, we'll see how disciplined the Detroit Lions are as a team when it comes to penalties as well. And they were penalized 8 for 50, so not so much the yardage as they have been in a number in the last game. And then previously before that, let's see, against the LA Rams, they were penalized 8 times in that game too for 77. So they haven't been playing the cleanest of football on that side. We'll see what Jared Goff does with some pressure, some heavy pressure it's on him. I don't anticipate the Steelers even really blitzing much. If you saw the game last night, the cover 0 that the Miami Dolphins employ, they were bringing the house, and Lamar Jackson just didn't know what to do with that. And to be quite frankly honest, I'm glad that the Dolphins, figuring themselves out, aren't on the Steelers' part of the schedule going forward too, because that would be a mess for this young offensive line that are still trying to get their stuff together. And it was definitely a mess for the Ravens. Just wow. That was some stuff, and there were some turnovers that were just the big man, Hunt. What's his first name? Is it Richard? Did you happen to see that replay as well? It was an eligible man downfield, but he caught a pass.
Oh yeah, I that's one of the few. I didn't watch most of the game.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh no, I did. I caught almost the whole thing.
I did catch the. I'm a guard. I'm clearly ineligible to catch the pass, but it's thrown close enough to me that I'm going to see if anybody noticed. And I'm going to catch it, and then I'm going to do some crazy stuff. And a very, very, I mean, I feel like they should have just let him have the touchdown. I mean, that was pretty impressive, but well.
Can't. Well, Myles Gaskin's given up like 18 inches to this guy, and he was standing in front of him. And he was like, like on his tippy toes, like mini me or something, trying to get to it. So those are pretty much my keys. I don't do a whole lot of predictions, but I'd like to see a 100-yard game, Najee Harris. I think TJ Watt takes the sack lead in this game. Who do the Brownies got? I'm going to look them up real quick just to see who Myles Garrett has, since he has a half-sack lead. They got the Patriots. I mean, that's possible. He's still got a rookie quarterback in Mac Jones there, but I don't think he's going to bring him down maybe more than twice. I think I see TJ getting a couple sacks in this game. Jared Goff will throw the ball away, but he's been an interception-prone guy throughout his career as well. Right neck and neck with that one year when Ben was leading the league in interceptions. Number 2 was Jared Goff, and he certainly had better weapons with the Rams to help cover for him there. Guys like Robert Woods or Cooper Kupp and guys like that. So he doesn't have any of those players. There's no Kenny Golladay or anybody like that. There's not even a Marvin Jones on this roster anymore. I see some people saying, well, the Lions won the quarterback trade with Matt Stafford. I had a tremendous amount of respect for Matt Stafford. I respect everyone that plays in the NFL, not to trash talk or run anybody down. But if Jared Goff had a 3-touchdown game, this would surprise me. Number 1, because the Lions would score more than 20 points, if that be the case. Number 2, who's he throwing them to other than Hawkinson or Swift? And even to that effect, Brian, the tight ends that the Lions usually have on here, they got guys on like the non-football injury list and stuff, 2 tight ends there. They don't even have like that second tight end where you're dealing with like Darren Waller and it went to like Fabian Moreau or who were the other guys? The Noah Fant and there was another guy that's with the Broncos. You had a couple of these teams that actually have like a second guy that might not be like a headliner or a star, but they could help mitigate or attack the Steelers where they're weak, and that would be like Arthur Millette, Trey Norwood, those type of guys that might end up covering that second tight end or over that. We saw Joe Hayden get up on Jimmy Graham. The Bears even have another guy with Cole Kmet that's a pretty solid. Oh, of course, the Bears have like 5 tight ends, I think, on their roster entirely. They're very heavy tight ends. The Dolphins have like 6, which was absolutely crazy. Adam Shaheen and Mike Gesicki, when I was watching that yesterday, they're even crazier than the Baltimore Ravens are at that position. So that's about where you attack them if they're Lions. But other than that, I think it'll be bottled up. They're going to have a tough time running the football, and I think it'll be a field day from there. And we'll see how the young gun Sewell does with TJ Watt, who I think continues to bang the drum for his own Defensive Player of the Year candidacy here.
Consistently, year in and year out.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, we're going to blink. There's going to be like something that happens in this game, and you're just going to see Jared Goff have the ball in his hand and then all of a sudden not. And that could even come from Cam Hayward if they focus too much attention on TJ in this game, which they're not going to be able to. That backup center, it's going to be tough sledding for him. And like I said, they'll be healthy, they'll be fresh. Maybe they'll come out with a little bit of spunk more than the Steelers do. Maybe the Steelers will be a little sluggish. But I think by the end of the game, when the dust is settled, I think the Steelers should handily win this. It should be a 2-possession game. Hopefully they can get the 30. I'd like to see them get more than the 29 they had. Fact of getting a touchdown instead of kicking a field goal. I think it's possible. Do I expect it? Not by any means, especially with no Chase Claypool there. That kind of hurts your odds of being able to do that with a big playmaker. So
maybe Muth is gonna, maybe Pat will come to play again. I mean, he always does, but maybe he has a breakout kind of game and gets picked up in the red zone. You got Ebron maybe back, so maybe you have an additional weapon. Although it's not like the Lions aren't going to be familiar with Eric Ebron, and he kind of has to not drop it. But I'm just saying maybe maybe not having Claypool in some senses will focus Ben on dealing with the tight ends a little bit more. And he does tend to focus on Deontay a lot. And he does. I felt like he has tried to force the ball to Claypool a couple times this year. So who knows? Maybe they can just find that consistency and some balance. And if Najee has a nice game, if he has that 100-yard game, then I think they definitely win. Because there's no way that he's getting to 100 yards if they fall behind. So.
Well, that would be true, and hopefully there's not some type of game script that's like that. So, once again, just to kind of bring it up too, Jared Goff has actually had more pass attempts, 308 to Ben's 299. He's had 1,995 yards to Ben's 1,986, but he's thrown 8 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. Ben has had 10-4. And Ben has not been turning the ball over. That was one of the killers early on. Having defensive injuries was a killer early on. And I just see this a whole lot differently. And here's another statistic from Jared Goff that we'll leave every one of you with. Jared Goff has 5 touchdowns versus 4 interceptions and 4 road starts this season. So he has not been an exceptional road quarterback. He does have 8 games with more than 60% completion percentage, but then again, these are going to the guys coming out of the backfield. These are his safety valves. His wide receivers are just a mess. And Hawkinson just isn't quite Travis Kelce yet, where you saw where the Chiefs were doing this type of thing when they didn't have the wide receivers and they were doing something very similar. It's not the same type of setup. So, Brian, thanks for joining me once again, my friend. We're going to hopefully have some fun and not have heart attacks on Sunday. That would be nice for a change.
Wouldn't it be? I'll be ecstatic if that's the case.
Yeah, absolutely ecstatic. So, folks, thanks for joining us as well. We maybe belabored this a little longer. It was like one of those things that's like, should we just jump on the horn and say, we got the Steelers winning. They're going to cover the spread. Good night, everybody. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Somebody out there was like, only 2 likes so far. This is criminal. Yeah, sometimes it happens. Some of the moods change too, especially when you can only get to somebody like, when did we do the post game? Wednesday? We were a day late. We were a day late. Yeah, you were traveling, I was busy, and things just happened that way, and we're late on this one too, so sometimes it doesn't line up, but we enjoy you jamming the subscribe button or leaving us a good review or rating wherever you're listening and or watching. So once again, my name's Joe, and his name's Brian. I think I said don't forget to like or comment, subscribe, whatever. I got that from my kids' shows. The 2%er thing was from that other guy, but
I just have to get it in at the end. Go Bucks.
Yeah, okay, we're delving into the college football realm. Aren't we Penn State guys this weekend too?
I don't care. Go Bucks.
Hey, I never want to see the Michigan teams win unless it's Michigan against Michigan State. So that's and then you had a barn burner too with 2 quarterbacks. You had Sam Howell and Kenny Pickett last night too, and Pitt came out like a house of fire, and then UNC came back in that game. That was pretty crazy. I have more than one TV where I'm sitting watching. I don't know if I've ever shown you my setup, but I had the Pens on, I had Pitt on, and then I had the Thursday night game. I had all three going at once. Just trying to pay attention to all of that will make your head spin for sure. But that I had to watch, because a lot of people are like, are these going to be two of the top quarterback prospects coming into the NFL draft? And very well maybe. But yeah, go Penn State. I know sometimes we get to be enemies with some of our, or maybe we'll be frenemies with some of the folks that are the Penn State fans that are listening, but we don't like that university up north, that's for sure. So do your job. Do your job, Nittany Lions. We love you if you do. Hate you if you don't. So that'll be enough of that. I said all the other stuff about following us, subscribing, and all those other things. Do it twice if you can, if you have more than one account. My name's Joe. His name's Brian. As always, we leave you off by trying to tell you not to be knuckleheads out there. Be safe, be good, and we'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.